Welcome to a brand new online tutorial on PIAAC data analysis. This tutorial is titled PIAAC and PIAAC-L in Applied Economic Research, a Literature Overview. And of course, this is meant as a complement to other, more technical tutorials that are available. This online course will introduce you to the existing PIAAC literature. Of course, this is not an exhaustive literature review, but we will discuss some of the best known and most widely cited PIAAC-based papers, as well as some very current and even ongoing research. All of this is based on the idea that a good command of existing research is a great foundation for future research. The tutorial comes with two main goals. First, by looking at what is already out there, we want to understand the true potential of the PIAAC data. What is it that makes PIAAC-based research attractive to many economists in different fields? What are the variables that are commonly used, and what are some variables that are very rarely used? All of this information will hopefully help you structure and position your own research idea. The second goal of this course is to help you understand the resources that are already out there in the previously published papers that you can use to inform your own data analysis. The papers that we will discuss are dealing with many practical concerns related to the PIAAC data, such as the use of plausible values, standardization, weighting in regressions, specification decisions, and many other practical issues. Understanding the resources and guidelines that are readily available out there will make your life easier as a researcher, hopefully. So I hope you understand the goal of this course. It is very much to help you understand what is out there that can be helpful in your own PIAAC research journey. My name is Katharina, and it is my great pleasure to guide you through this tutorial. I am an economist here at the University of Mainz in Germany, and I am a heavy PIAAC user in my research on the economics of education, innovation, and culture. Now, this tutorial is structured in the following way. We have three distinct chapters to cover. First, we are discussing classic PIAAC and PIAAC-L-based research in the economics of education, and also right at the intersection between education and labor economics. Then in the second chapter, we dive into some interesting subsamples in PIAAC, including the PIAAC panel in Germany, but also teacher and migrant samples, for instance. Then finally, in the third chapter, we discuss PIAAC and PIAAC-L-based research that tries to identify causal effects, which is, of course, an interesting topic specifically in economics. All right. To make sure that we are all on the same page, let's reiterate that PIAAC is the Program for the International Assessment of Adult Competencies run by the OECD. It measures three distinct skill domains among the working age population in more than 40 countries. The first PIAAC cycle started in 2011, and the second cycle is ongoing, which is why it is a very exciting time to work with PIAAC data, and I'm glad that you are here in this tutorial. Now, in Germany specifically, a panel version of PIAAC called PIAAC-L is available. In PIAAC-L, the original respondents were resurveyed and also retested with respect to cognitive skills several years later. We will cover both PIAAC and PIAAC-L in this literature overview. And now it is time to dive into our first chapter, PIAAC and PIAAC-L in education and labor economics. And of course, first of all, as our first paper, we need to discuss the returns to cognitive skills. It is a paper by Haniuszek, Schwert, Wiederholt, and Westman from 2015, and it has been widely cited. They focus on the role of cognitive skills in the labor market by estimating a Mincer regression where they replace the original education measures with the cognitive skills that are measured in PIAAC. This paper truly set the tone for many analyses that were to come in the years afterwards. And why is that? Well, they focus on the heart of PIAAC, the cognitive skill measures, and they try to understand how relevant these cognitive skills are in the modern labor market. To understand some of the standards that this paper set for subsequent research, let us look at some of the results. This is the main results table, which shows the wage returns to skills for many different PIAAC countries, as well as the pooled sample. It reveals that there are substantial returns to skills in the OECD PIAAC countries, but that there are also interesting differences between the countries. And immediately you can see some of the decisions the authors have made that can help you guide your own research. So, first of all, they are focusing on numeracy skills for comparability reasons. Additionally, they are standardizing the cognitive skill measures to make them easier to interpret and more comparable. They are also using weighted regressions. They are using the sampling weights provided in PIAAC, but they are also weighting with respect to the sample size in each country so that the differences in sample size between the different PIAAC countries is taken into account in the pooled specification. So you can learn about plausible values in this paper about standardization and about weighting in different scenarios. Additionally, since they are estimating the wage returns to skills, they need to deal with the wage information in PIAAC, which is also different between different PIAAC countries. So this paper also provides great resources on the use of wages in PIAAC-based analyses. And many researchers have used the approaches outlined in this paper and the decisions made by these authors in subsequent research. All right, moving on from the returns to cognitive skills and the emphasis on the importance of the cognitive skills measured in PIAAC in the modern labor market, let's look at a different perspective. PIAAC also lends itself to the investigation of the implications of different education systems or other specific features of the education sector in different countries. Now, in one of these papers, Humph and Westman look at vocational versus general education. They look at differences in labor market success between vocationally and generally educated people in 16 PIAAC countries. By comparing employment chances across education types and age groups, they find an employment advantage early in life for those with vocational training. However, later in life, these people are overtaken by those people who have received general education. This paper draws heavily from the education and labor market information that is readily available in PIAAC. And it also makes great use of the age structure in PIAAC, right? Since PIAAC covers the whole age range of the working age population from 16 to 65, they can compare different age groups and find the cutoff age where the generally educated people overtake the vocationally trained people. So you can see a lot of high potential features of PIAAC outlined in this paper, including the rich career information, the detailed education information, as well as the age structure that covers a whole wide age range. All right, moving on to our next paper. This is a paper by Lesznik, Schwert, and Zigova, very recent paper, and it covers central exams. So it deals with the question whether centralized exams in a country provide accountability and incentives for schools, or whether they just encourage teaching to the test. So what they do is they look at variation in exam type over time and between different school systems for 30 PIAAC countries. And what the authors find are weak but positive skill implications of these central exams. However, their results suggest that these positive implications of central exams fade out over time. Again, this paper is making great use of PIAAC's age structure. And cognitive skills are once again used as the main outcome of the education production function. If we contrast that with the previous paper, we will see that many papers use cognitive skills as a key outcome or explanatory variable. On the other hand, though, the Hanf and Westman paper uses cognitive skills to describe and investigate selection into different education types. So not every PIAAC paper needs to be completely focused on cognitive skills, and it is very beneficial to keep an open mind here. However, in the Leschnik et al. Paper, cognitive skills are the main outcome, as the authors try to understand if central exams affect the skills people actually have even years after finishing schools, and they find a strong fading out effect. All right, so these are two different features of the education system that are investigated through PIAAC data. Specifically in the second paper here, the authors also merge PIAAC with a very detailed data set on education system features, on central exams, and education reforms in those 30 countries. So if you're planning on merging PIAAC with education sector information at the country level and even changes over time, then this paper will have very interesting resources for you. Now, at the intersection between education and labor economics, we find the question whether employees are actually well prepared for the jobs that they will do in the future. If the education sector prepares its graduates for what they will do on the job. Now, here, PIAAC, of course, is a very relevant data set since it measures actual skills and it has detailed labor market information. Specifically, it is interesting to note that PIAAC has very detailed information on the occupation somebody is working in, but that information differs between countries. So the super detailed information is not available for all countries. The key challenge when investigating skill mismatch with PIAAC is to understand what the required skills are for a given occupation in a given country. Now, there are different approaches here. The first paper cited on this slide uses a very PIAAC-focused approach in measuring the required skills and not just the actual skills that the employees have. So these authors focus on self-reported mismatch. PIAAC has information on whether employees feel well prepared for the job that they do, skill proficiency, and skill use at work. It is important not to underestimate that PIAAC has a lot of information on what people do on their job and on a day-to-day basis. How much time do they spend learning or training or interacting with others and using a computer, etc. So all of that is used in this first skill mismatch approach. In the other paper, a very different approach is used, which is called the job analysis method. And it incorporates expert opinions to understand what the required skills are for an occupation in a country. So you can see that there is a range of different approaches to work on skill mismatch. And there is, of course, a lot to be contributed here still. At the same time, though, even if you are not working on skill mismatch yourself, these papers have some very interesting background questionnaire items at use here that may be relevant to your research question, even if it's not related to skill mismatch. And this paper concludes the first chapter of this PIAAC online course. Thank you for participating in this first part, and I hope to see you in part 2, where we investigate interesting subsamples among the PIAAC population. Thank you for joining.